Sam Seder, Emma Vigeland. It's Casual Friday. Want to welcome back to the program Kyle Kulinski, host of the Crystal Kyle and Friends show and the Kyle Kulinski show. Kyle Kulinski, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I just got to say, because of the ad I just did, folks are writing in about making sure that you use a GFCI outlet for anything that is near water in your bathroom. And yes, I think we all know that. That's an obvious thing.
I'm glad we got that out of the way.
Yes,
I did not know that, and I would have electrocuted my butthole, but thanks for telling me.
There you go. Be careful.
You know, what this show needs is more bidet talk. That's what the show needs.
I think it's got to be, I think those outlets, though, honestly, it's code at least 24 inches. Anything within 24 inches of water has got to be a one of those outlets because it has an automatic circuit breaker.
They'll get rid of that rule soon, too, though. They're working on deregulating that as we speak.
Exactly. We don't need those type of regulations.
That's how you're going to die, Sam. Electrocuted on the toilet from your bidet.
I can think of a lot worse ways to go. All right, let's get into this. We're watching, of the many things that were horrific in that bill that passed a week or two ago, the immigration thing, I think, is going to be the thing that we feel most dramatically over the coming, 6 months. I mean, ICE right now has something like, what was the number of employees that work at ICE? I had this here. It is fascinating to see how dramatic this budget, 20,000 employees at ICE right now. They're going to increase the size of ICE by 50%. They are pulling guys who worked in like major crimes unit at ICE, like dealing with, cartels and big drug runners. They're pulling them off now to arrest moms or grandmothers. What are you anticipating with this, Kyle?
I mean, I'm anticipating what we're seeing now ramped up tenfold. I think that with a budget of like $170 billion, they're not exactly hiding the fact that I think they're going to start very openly and brazenly going after not only legal immigrants as they already are, but I think American citizens. I mean, Trump has openly said multiple times that we got the homegrowns. We got to get rid of these homegrowns. They're a problem. And so we already got a report that about 70 American citizens were deported in Trump's first term. And I would venture a guess that we're at least at a couple hundred or maybe over 1,000 already because he's treating ICE like his Gestapo. That's what it is. Now the ICE budget is bigger than like the Israeli military budget. What are you planning on doing with all those personnel? And by the way, they're also like deputizing Proud Boys and white nationalists to be the ICE Gestapo. They're pulling over random cars on a Tennessee highway. I covered a story on that recently. And I mean, you see what they're doing. They're going into doctors' offices and Walmarts and Home Depots, and just expect this in every city. Trump's now saying the next ones are New York and DC, where he's going to try to do the same sort of federal crackdown like we're witnessing in LA right now.
It's sort of fascinating to me. We were talking to someone from LA Taco, which was a online like foodie site focused on tacos and community reporting that have basically become a clearinghouse for all of these reports about ICE and all of the stuff that's happening in LA. And the host, Memo, I can't remember his last name, but Memo Torres was talking about how like so much of this stuff does not get reported outside of even just their website, never mind on the local news. And that to me is sort of shocking. I mean, when you think about how much the Trenta Agua, which we never hear about anymore, all of a sudden they just, melted away. But how much we heard about that versus, what is actually happening in terms of so-called criminal enforcement.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it is truly, truly difficult to keep up because every day there's another like 12 different absolute horror stories. I mean, I'm still thinking of the 288 people who were rounded up and sent to a concentration camp in El Salvador. No due process whatsoever. 90% of them have no criminal record whatsoever. Somebody had a tattoo for his brother with autism, and they said it was a gang tattoo, and they sent him there. Somebody had a mom and dad tattoo, and they said that's a gang tattoo, and they sent him there. I mean, how many stories like this are out there now? We just got word that we already have an innocent person who was sent to Alligator Alcatraz, as they call it. A person had no criminal record whatsoever. They didn't fill out, they like forgot to fill out one form for their immigration paperwork, and now they're being sent there. And look, I mean, I think they're going to continue down this path, and they're going to create more effectively concentration camps. If you are throwing out due process, throwing out habeas corpus, rounding up whoever you want and locking them up, then there's no other thing to call that but a concentration camp. So, I mean, I truly fear for the future of this country. I don't see how we get out of this without having basically like new Nuremberg trials and locking up Stephen Miller and locking up Kristi Noem and returning rule of law, because this is the most lawless thing I've ever seen. I mean, this is like looking at what Bush did overseas. This is like the imperial boomerang, where now it's come back to our country, and they're even escalating it here.
Yes, it's, I think, really important to put it in the context of the war on terror. You know, we would not be in this situation if, well, first of all, ICE was a creation of like the post 9/11 world war on terror kind of expansion of the surveillance state and of like federalizing this kind of policing. But it is a failure of the Democrats, who didn't seek accountability for the war criminals in the Bush administration, and who kind of continued this level of just rolling back of rights, or didn't at least aggressively attempt to curtail it. And we're in this situation in part because of the expansion of the national security state after 9/11.
Yeah, I mean, the Democrats, you know, refusing to prosecute Bush, refusing to prosecute Cheney, making torture just a matter of opinion. Obama saying we look forward, we don't look backwards. That then made it just a difference of opinion as to whether or not your administration tortures. And now we've gone further than that. And now it's, when it comes to due process and habeas corpus, that's just a matter of opinion. And I guess the thing that shocks me the most is the lack of the hair on fire approach. I mean, this truly is a hair on fire moment. And the immigration numbers are plummeting for Trump, even with the Democrats not talking much about immigration, which showed, now imagine they also were fighting hard on that. I honestly think the media, some of the media coverage of Kilmar Brego Garcia was a lot of what led to those numbers going 100%. The direction they did, because that was one that
Chris Van Hollen going down there.
Yeah. And God bless him for it. And God bless any Democrat who is fighting on this. But I still think there's many Democrats at the top of the party who feel like, let's tread carefully, because this is generally an issue where Trump had higher poll numbers. And so we don't want to step on any toes.
I think that's exactly right. I mean, I just wanted to, because I do want to pivot to that conversation. But I just also want to say, like, you know, you look at those images of ICE essentially attacking that soccer field and successfully intimidating the cones that were on there. And I think the net looked like they were going to go the straight and narrow. And surely those kids at that playground were terrified. But if you look at the gear that they're using, like, I mean, they look like they could be walking down the streets of Fallujah. And it's like, where are the, like, why? Like, you know, like, why are they, this is such an industry. And it's so much of that, like you say, the imperial blowback. This is all came from programs where used equipment or overbought equipment for the military during the Iraq War. There was a specific program set up to send it back to police departments. And now it's almost like it's not even a special program. It is just part of the whole thing. We're going to gear these guys up like they're going into an active firefight. And I'm sorry, there's no protest that makes this equipment necessary. There's no rolling up on a guy with a weed whacker or a, you know, mom working at a taco truck that requires this kind of gear. It's insane. It is absolutely insane. And it's insane how there doesn't seem to be any, like, you know, pushback. You've got, we were just listening to that report from California, and on one hand, you know, ICE officers are worried about their safety. Are you kidding me?
I mean, it's at the point now where the cruelty and the sadism is the point, right? Like, they've raided schools and meat packing facilities and farms and Home Depots and 7-Elevens, and they deported a 4-year-old American citizen with cancer and no medicine. A woman was arrested immediately after she gave birth. A U.S. Marshal was arrested. I mean, like, it's a horror show is what it is. And if this doesn't really motivate all of us to get up and do something about it, I don't know what will. I did just see a video of when they tried to raid that farm in California.
Yep.
There was a whole bunch of people really trying to stop it. They tried to block the car with the road. There was a bunch of people throwing rocks at the ICE car. The ICE officers, they brought in a freaking helicopter for some reason to land it on a farm. Like, it's very disturbing. And, I'm curious what you guys think. Who is more driving the car? Because every now and then Trump will say, like, we're going to protect the hotel workers. We're going to protect the hotel workers. We're going to protect, he has like 2 or 3 different types of immigrants that he's seemingly nominally okay with. But then, like, the same day or the next day, there will be a massive raid on the facilities that he said we were going to protect those immigrants, which makes me feel like Stephen Miller is actually the one
100%
calling the shots, and driving the car,
He's outsourced domestic policy, I think, functionally to Stephen Miller, and
I'm not convinced he has an outsourced foreign policy too. I mean, if you look at that signal chat with that leaked in terms of that strike against the Houthis, it was Stephen Miller who came in and said, the boss wants this done. When there was a question, he was the one who came in and everybody deferred to as to whether we were going ahead with that attack. And so I think it is Stephen Miller, and I don't think Trump cares, frankly.
No,
because he knows he can go out and say this stuff, and it makes him even look even better. Like, we'll get to the Epstein stuff, but I think it's Stephen Miller for sure. But regardless, it's Trump. I mean, it's Trump. Yeah. It's Miller. At the end of the day, it almost doesn't matter. It's really just more why would people listen to what Trump says as opposed to like the observable truth that exists every day? Yeah. Because this guy does, he talks out of his ass. He'll say anything at any given point.
It's amazing how not only how evil they are, but also how incompetent they are. Crystal was just telling me that there were 2 different teams that were sent to negotiate with Venezuela. And the teams didn't know that there were other people from the U.S. government representing the Trump administration negotiating with Venezuela. So they had 2 separate deals they were working on. And then I guess they figured out eventually, like, oh, wait, only one of us is supposed to be doing this. You saw this with Hegseth, too, when Trump temporarily cut off the weapons to Ukraine. Apparently, Hegseth made that call. And then now Trump stepped in and is resending the weapons. It's like, not only are they evil, but they're also completely and utterly incompetent. And it's like, it's just so scattershot how they're approaching governing.
Yeah, and it's in part because they're responding to the whims of somebody who's absolutely out of his mind. And like, I think in terms of him outsourcing policy to Stephen Miller like this, you have to wonder if he's begun. We know he knows he's lying regularly, but he has to start to believe some of his own spin because there's nobody around him that's telling him anything different. I mean, when he goes out and says we're not cutting Medicaid. And right. the big ugly ass bill just destroys the program. It destroys it. Like, how do you explain that disconnect? It's either just basically his complete insanity and disconnect from reality, or he's surrounded by a bunch of conspiracy theorists who give him false information that gets him to believe and work backwards from his conclusion.
I think he's so used to lying that it's like lie inflation. The lies get like more and more absurd to the point where he's telling people like it doesn't cut Medicaid at all. You got to protect Medicaid. There was a report that he was talking to House Republicans telling them one thing you never do is cut Medicaid. And this was at the same time he was pitching the big, beautiful bill, which destroys Medicaid. And so it is so hard for me to wrap my mind around this. I mean, I say this on my show all the time. If the Republicans say they're going to do something good, they're lying. They're going to do something bad. If they say they're going to do something bad, they're telling the truth. They're going to do that bad thing. That's what it's become now.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.